This is Ignite English, and find your English voice.
Welcome to Ignite English. I'm your guide, and today we're going to talk about one of the most common, most frustrating, and most misunderstood experiences that English learners have. That moment when you open your mouth and nothing comes out.
Oh, yeah. That moment, I know that one very well.
Most people do, and today we're going to look at exactly why it happens, and more importantly, what you can do about it right now, this week.
Good. Because honestly, I've been feeling like I should know more by now. Like I study, I watch videos in English, I understand a lot, but then the moment I have to actually speak, it just disappears.
That's exactly what we're unpacking today. But first, I want to take you somewhere. I want you to picture a scene, a very specific moment. Are you with me?
Yes. Okay. I'm listening.
You're in a coffee shop. It's a normal Tuesday morning, the kind of place where the music is just loud enough to be background noise. You're in the queue, maybe 4 or 5 people ahead of you, and you've got time, plenty of time to think about what you're going to order.
Okay, yeah. I can see it.
And today you want something slightly different. Not your usual order. You've seen something on the menu, maybe an oat milk latte, but with an extra shot, and you'd like it a little less sweet than usual. It's not complicated. You know what you want. You've been thinking about it for 2 minutes already.
Right, and in your head, it sounds perfectly fine.
Exactly. In your head, it's fine. And then it's your turn. The person behind the counter looks at you, that bright professional look. And they say, "Hi there, what can I get for you today?" And the sentence you had ready just dissolves.
Oh no, yes. That is exactly what happens. It just goes, and then you're just standing there, and you can feel the people behind you. And the barista is still smiling, but you can see they're waiting, and
You freeze.
you freeze. And then you panic a little bit. And then the panic makes it worse. And sometimes I just end up pointing at something on the menu and saying that one, just to make it stop.
And then you walk away with the wrong drink and a slightly bruised sense of self. I know. Here's the thing, Sam. And this is the first thing I really want you to hear today. In that moment, you were not lost for words. You were lost in words.
Lost in words, what does that mean exactly?
It means the words were there. The vocabulary was there. You know what oat milk is. You know what extra shot means. You know how to say less sweet. Those words were all in your head. But what happened is you were trying to build the perfect sentence before you said a single word. And that's what stopped you.
Okay, yeah. That is actually exactly what I was doing. I was like, okay, how do I phrase this properly? Should I say I would like? Or can I have? Or could I get? And then I started thinking about grammar, and then...
And then the moment passed. That's it. That's the trap. And almost every English learner I've ever spoken to falls into it. Not because they don't have the words, but because they're trying to carry too much at once. Let me give you an image for this. Imagine you're trying to move a huge piece of furniture, like a massive sofa, through a narrow doorway, and you're trying to carry the whole thing at once, the whole sofa, through the door, in one go. It doesn't fit, so nothing moves. The whole thing just gets stuck in the doorway, and you stand there, straining, and nothing goes anywhere. That's what's happening when you try to build a long, perfect, fully formed sentence in your head before you speak a single syllable. The sentence is too big for the door, so nothing comes out.
That is such a good way to explain it. Because that's genuinely what it feels like something is jammed.
Something is jammed, and I want to show you exactly what is happening in your brain during those few seconds. Because once you understand the process, you can interrupt it. So here's what's actually going on. And this happens incredibly fast. You hear the question. Your brain goes, okay, I need to respond. First, translate the idea from your native language. Then, check the grammar. Is this present simple? Do I need a modal verb? Then, search for the right vocabulary. Is it I'd like, or I'll have, or can I get? Then, run a confidence check. Is that correct? Will it sound strange? Will they understand me? And by the time you've done all of that, it's too late. 3 seconds have passed, which in a conversation feels like 30, and the silence becomes its own problem. Because now you're not just thinking about the sentence, you're also thinking about the silence, and what the other person thinks of the silence, and whether you look nervous. And that's a whole separate spiral.
Exactly. It snowballs so fast. And it doesn't just happen at coffee shops, it happens everywhere. At a dinner table, for instance, when someone suddenly turns to you and asks, "What do you think?" "Oh, that one is awful." "What do you think?" "And I have thoughts. I have many thoughts." But the moment someone asks me directly, they just evaporate.
Because in that moment, the pressure to perform a complete, coherent, grammatically correct thought is so high that your brain short circuits. It's not about intelligence. It's not even about language level. It's about the pressure of the big sentence. And here's what most people get wrong. They think the solution is to study more, learn more words, more grammar, more rules, but the answer isn't more. The answer is less.
Less? What do you mean?
I mean shorter sentences, simpler structure, faster output. Because here's something most learners don't know, or maybe they know it but they don't believe it. Native speakers use incredibly short, incredibly simple sentences all the time, constantly, in professional settings, in casual settings, everywhere.
Really? Because when I listen to native speakers, it sounds so fluid, like everything just flows together.
It does flow, but when you slow it down, you'll find that flow is made of very small pieces, very simple pieces. Think about it. In a conversation, someone says something hard and a native speaker responds, "That's a good point." 3 words and a noun. Or, "I need a moment." 4 words. Or, "Can you say that again?" 5 words. Or just, "That makes sense." 3 words. That's it. And none of it sounds weak. None of it sounds stupid. It sounds natural. It sounds like a real person having a real conversation.
Okay, but doesn't it sound too simple? Like, if I said something really short, wouldn't people think my English was basic?
That is the fear, yes. And I understand it completely, but I want to challenge it because think about what actually makes someone sound fluent. Is it long sentences, or is it sentences that arrive at the right time? Clearly, without hesitation, without gaps, without panic. Fluency isn't length, fluency is flow, and flow requires momentum. You cannot build momentum with a sentence that's too heavy to lift. Simple English moves, complex English freezes. Clarity is not weakness. Simplicity is not poverty. In fact, and this is something really worth sitting with, the most respected communicators in the world are almost always the clearest. Not the most complex, not the most elaborate, the clearest. Because clarity tells the listener, I know what I'm saying. I know where I'm going. Trust me. That's power.
Yeah, that actually makes me feel better. Because I think I've been trying to impress people with complexity instead of just, communicating.
That is one of the most honest and important things a learner can say. And yes, best is, or just yes, that shift from trying to impress to trying to connect, that is where fluency actually begins. Let me take you back to that coffee shop. Same moment, same barista, same queue behind you, but this time, you're going to do something different.
Okay, I'm ready. What do I do?
Instead of trying to say the whole order in one perfect sentence, you just say the first small thing. The barista says, "What can I get for you?" And you say, "Oat milk latte, please." That's it. Just that. Because here's what happens next. The barista will respond. They might say, "What size?" or "Anything else?" And suddenly, the conversation becomes a series of small exchanges instead of one enormous performance. And you're in it. You're moving. You're not frozen.
Oh, that's actually really simple. Why didn't I think of that? I was trying to say everything at once.
Because we've been taught, consciously or not, that a good answer is a complete answer. A full answer. All the information delivered perfectly in one go. But conversation doesn't work that way. Conversation is a dialogue. It's back and forth. You don't have to carry it alone. You just have to start. And starting small is still starting.
Right. Right, so it's okay to not say everything at once. To let the conversation unfold.
Not just okay, it's actually more natural. Think about any conversation where you have a clear idea. Instead of waiting until the perfectly polished thought is ready, what if you just said, "I have a thought on this." 4 words, and then the room turns to you. You've bought yourself a few more seconds to find the next piece. And once you're in, once you've said that first small thing, now you've claimed your space. You're in the room, in the moment. Now you can build. One small piece at a time. This is the whole philosophy. Speak first, polish later. Your first sentence doesn't have to be good. It just has to be spoken.
Your first sentence doesn't have to be good. It just has to be spoken. Okay, I'm writing that down.
Good, because that one line could change everything for you. But this doesn't only happen in coffee shops, it happens in the places that matter most: work, meetings, friendships, the conversations you care about, the places where you most want your real self to come through. When the words don't come in those moments, when you have something important to say and you freeze, that's the real wound. Let's talk about the work meeting.
Oh no, the work meeting.
The meeting. You're there. People are talking around the table or on a video call. Someone presents an idea, and immediately, in your mind, you know something important. Maybe you have a better solution. Maybe you see a problem no one else sees. Maybe you want to disagree, politely, intelligently, constructively. The idea is there. And then you start building, okay, how do I say this professionally? I don't want to sound rude. I need to be precise. Maybe I should start with a softener. Maybe I should say, I wonder if perhaps... And as you build and edit and refine, someone else speaks. The moment closes, and now you are sitting there with two pains at once: the unsaid idea and the knowledge that you had it. And once again, the problem was not your intelligence. It was not your English level. It was sentence size. You tried to say the entire polished version instead of the first usable version.
So what would the first usable version sound like in a meeting?
It could be very small. I see a risk here. That's enough. Or, I think we need another option. Or, I have a concern. Or even, can I add something? These are tiny openings, tiny doors. But once you open them, the rest of the conversation can hold you. Exactly, because you're not trying to deliver the perfect paragraph. You're entering the conversation. That is a completely different job. Speaking is not performing. Speaking is participating. And that distinction matters because performance creates pressure. Participation creates motion. And motion is what fluency needs. Now, another moment. A social situation. Someone asks, "How was your weekend?" Because your weekend was not simple in your head. You want to describe everything: the friend you visited, the long conversation, the quiet Sunday. But instead of starting with one piece, your brain tries to carry it all in one perfect answer.
And then what comes out is just, it was good.
Two words, but not two chosen words, two emergency words. If you'd started small on purpose, "It was nice, I visited a friend." That's already enough to keep the conversation alive. They ask, "Oh, really? Where?" And now you're in a shared exchange, not an isolated performance. Yes, that's what good conversation is made of. Small living pieces. Things the other person can catch, respond to, build on. You don't have to carry the whole structure alone. And now I want to say something that may sound simple, but for a lot of learners, it changes everything. Small English is not weak English. Small English is usable English, and usable English changes your life faster than impressive English sitting silently in your head. Because that is what you need in real life. English you can use in the moment, not English that looks beautiful in a notebook, not English that only appears when there's no pressure. Usable English. Language that can walk with you into a cafe, a meeting, a phone call, a conversation with a stranger. They do, and the truth is, advanced is not the same as effective. A short sentence said on time is more effective than a perfect sentence that never leaves your mouth. So many learners are waiting to become some imaginary version of fluent before they let themselves participate. But fluency is not something you unlock after enough waiting. It is something you build in motion. And now, 4 practical tools you can start using today. Are you ready? Tool number 1. Cut the sentence in half. Whatever you were about to say, take it and cut it in half. Say the first half. That's it. If you were going to say, "I think we should probably consider changing the way we approach this particular issue because it seems like..." Stop. What's the first half? "I think we should change the approach." Say that, just that, then breathe, then add more if you need to.
Okay, I love this. Because usually what I'm trying to say is like 10 thoughts at once, and I'm trying to connect them all with because and however, and then it all collapses.
Yes, you're writing a novel when you should be sending a text message. Cut it in half. Say the core. Move. Tool number 2. Say the first simple version. Don't wait for the perfect sentence. The perfect sentence is the enemy of the real sentence. Whatever the first simple version is, say it. It doesn't need to be elegant. It doesn't need to be sophisticated. It needs to be out. The sentence doesn't need to be perfect. It needs to be out.
The sentence doesn't need to be perfect. It needs to be out. Okay, that's a different way of thinking about it. Like, just release it.
Release it. Exactly, because here's the thing, cucumber. You can refine as you go. In a conversation, you can always add. You can say something simple and then follow it with more. I didn't like it. It felt rushed, the ending especially. 3 separate short sentences instead of one complicated one, and it flows beautifully. Tool number 3, use small English first, improve later. Speak now, refine as you go. Fluency is built in motion, not in silence.
Fluency is built in motion, not in silence. Yeah, because I think I've been waiting, like waiting to be fluent before I speak. But that's backwards, isn't it?
It's completely backwards. You become fluent by speaking. You don't speak once you're fluent. The speaking is the practice. The speaking is the training ground. Every time you open your mouth, even imperfectly, you are building the pathway. You are making the road. Silence doesn't build that road. Motion does. And that brings us to tool 4. And this one is the most powerful of all, I think. Speak in idea blocks, not grammar blocks.
Idea blocks. Okay, explain that to me.
So right now, most learners think in full sentences. They plan the whole sentence, subject, verb, object, clause, connector, second clause, and then they try to say it. But what if instead you thought in small units of meaning? Just 3 steps: subject, action, detail. That's it. You want to tell someone about the meeting? Don't plan. The meeting this morning was quite long, and I felt like it could have been more efficient if we had prepared better. Instead, think, meeting was long, could be better. And then speak those 3 ideas one at a time. Add detail only after the core lands.
Okay, so it's like, don't think in sentences. Think in chunks, little pieces of meaning.
Exactly. Chunks, blocks, small units, because when you do that, your brain isn't trying to hold the entire structure at once. It just needs the next block and then the next one. And suddenly you're speaking, you're flowing, not because the sentences are perfect, but because the ideas are moving, one after another.
This is making me rethink the way I prepare to speak. Like, I used to script things in my head, like full paragraphs. And now you're saying I should think more like bullet points almost?
Yes, exactly like bullet points. Keywords, anchors, not paragraphs, because a paragraph is a finished product. And when you're speaking in real time, you're not working with finished products, you're working with live material. And live material needs to travel light. The moment you try to carry a full paragraph through a real-time conversation, it gets stuck. Every single time.
So to summarize what I'm taking from this, and tell me if I have this right, the problem is not my vocabulary. The problem is that I'm trying to build big sentences before I speak. And the solution is smaller sentences, simpler structure, faster output. Start with the idea. Speak first. Add detail after.
That is perfect. You just summarized it in 6 sentences, and every single one of those sentences was clear, direct, and powerful. That is small English, and you just did it naturally. That's what it looks like when it works. When you're not performing, when you're just communicating, the language becomes a vehicle instead of an obstacle. And that's the goal. Not perfect English, not impressive English. English that moves, English that connects, English that gets you through the door and into the room. If you use simple English and people understand you, you are not failing, you are succeeding. If you say a short, clear sentence and it lands, that is not a lesser form of speaking. That is effective communication. And effective communication is the entire point. Small sentences give fear less room to build a house inside your mouth. Now I want to talk about something deeper, because this isn't just about technique, it's also about identity. Speaking in a second language is one of the most vulnerable things a person can do. You're taking the most intimate part of yourself, your thoughts, your ideas, your personality, and you're trying to express them in a system that isn't your mother tongue. And you're doing that in real time, in front of real people with no safety net. That is not a small thing. That is a brave thing. Every time, even when it goes wrong. Especially when it goes wrong.
I needed to hear that. I don't think I give myself credit for that. For actually trying. Even when I mess up.
Give yourself that credit. Because the learners who make the fastest progress are not the most talented. They're not the ones who make the fewest mistakes. They're the ones who speak the most, who step into the discomfort the most. Because that discomfort, that freezing moment, that awkward pause, that wrong word, that isn't failure. That is the moment just before breakthrough. The freeze is not a wall, it's a door. And the key to that door is a small, simple, real sentence. Not a perfect one, not an impressive one, a real one. Don't wait for the perfect sentence. Start with a real one, and then let the conversation do what conversations are designed to do: carry you forward.
Don't wait for the perfect sentence. Start with a real one. Okay, so what's the challenge? What do we actually do this week? Because I want something concrete.
Here's your challenge. This week, every single time you feel yourself starting to build a big sentence, every time you feel that weight, that jam, that sense of too much to carry, cut it in half. Say the first simple version. Let it out. Don't edit it first. Don't refine it in advance. Speak first, polish later. Do that once a day, once a conversation. Wherever you are, a coffee shop, a meeting, a phone call, a voice note, just say the small thing first and see what happens.
I'm going to do that. I'm genuinely going to try that. And honestly, just having a name for what's been happening makes it feel less scary. Like now when I freeze, I can think, okay, this is the big sentence trap. Cut it in half. Move.
Cut it in half, move. I love that. That's your mantra for the week. Cut it in half, move. And remember, simple English moves, complex English phrases, you are not building towards fluency. You are practicing it right now. Every word, every imperfect sentence, every brave moment of opening your mouth when everything in you wants to stay quiet.
Thank you, honestly. This conversation has made me feel like I'm not broken, like I'm just using the wrong strategy. And that's actually fixable.
You are not broken. You never were. You were just carrying too much through a narrow door. Now you know, set some of it down. Take one piece at a time, say the small thing, start the motion, because fluency doesn't live on the other side of silence. It lives inside the words you actually say. So say them. Say the first one. Even if it's simple, even if it's small, even if it's not quite right. Say it, and then the next one, and then the next. That is how this works. That is how it has always worked. One small word at a time.
One small word at a time. Yeah, I can do that.
You already are. And that is all for today's episode of Ignite English. If this conversation lit something up for you, share it. Send it to someone who needs to hear it. Leave a comment, a review, a message. Let us know what landed for you. And remember, speak first, polish later. The sentence doesn't need to be perfect. It needs to be out. We'll see you in the next episode.
See you there. And thank you, genuinely. This one mattered.